Welcome into College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, Bowl Edition, the second segment here with Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com at MidMajorMatt on Twitter. Matt, welcome in. How you feeling?
Feeling good. The first one went pretty well. There was a couple of misses, but we're not going to get every bowl right. We're here to give information and some opinions when we have them, Drew. So I feel like we at least accomplished that in the first one.
We did. I thought it went well. Thank you to all the comments out there. Nathan Cantor commenting below in the reply section on YouTube, also on Twitter at MidMajorMatt, at Drew Martin Betts. Guys, we are going down every game on the board. We will hit them all for bowl season, just like we do during the regular season. 227, 228, Air Force Baylor, and we are going to attempt to get down to UCF and Duke. That's on Wednesday, December 28th in the Military Bowl, and hit all those games in between in rotation order. If you're new to sports betting, we like to say go to the wagertalk.com live odds screen, and those little numbers next to the team name when you go to college football, those are the rotation numbers, and we are just going down in numerical order, breaking down the games from a Vegas perspective. So first up here, 7:30 Eastern Thursday. That's tonight, December 22nd. Armed Forces Bowl, Fort Worth, Texas, Air Force and Baylor. 43.5 being the total here, Matt. -3 in the hook. That's the Baylor Bears at home. Mountain West first Big 12 conference. Very interesting, intriguing handicap here, Matt. You liking anything Air Force and Baylor?
Yeah, and so when you're looking at this game tonight, Drew, first off, gotta look at the weather. Looks like it's going to be very cold, down to like 19 degrees or so. There's going to be 20-mile-per-hour winds with some gusts that are going to be even higher. And obviously, that's not going to affect Air Force. And you're kind of seeing that in the movement. Look, you could still take Air Force now, but you got a way worse number than it was when it opened. But I mean, I think Air Force is the side here. You look at the Baylor transfers and you look at the opt-outs and things like that. Safety Devin Neal Jr. had 41 tackles. Now, that's not as much of an issue in this sort of game. But what was it? Yesterday, we heard from their coach, Aranda, that Mark Milton and Siaki Ika are both out for the games, defensive starters here. And when I did my previews and prepping for this, a lot of the articles said, Air Force's triple option is going to be good, but Siaki Ika, the 340-pound guy in the middle, is going to be a tough guy for this team to block. Well, he's not playing in this game now. As I said, Aranda is now the team's defensive coordinator, so he's kind of spent that time, but he's also the head coach. He's the guy who's got to go and recruit people. He's got to go in the transfer portal and things like that. So his head's been all over the place. I'm not the biggest fan of Baylor's offense, Drew. So I like Air Force in this game. I even though you're getting a bad number, as long as it stays above 3, there were some 4s that popped up, but they disappeared rather quickly. So I like Air Force here, Drew. I played this a couple of different ways. I played the first quarter under in this game. I got it 10. I was very lucky. It's gone now, so you're not going to be able to do it. I don't recommend it. These other numbers. And then I also played another little fun prop. I played Air Force over 2.5 points in the first quarter. They're one of the best first quarter offenses. I think they come out and score in this first drive. Something like 8 of their last 10 games against teams that haven't seen them the previous year, they've scored in the first quarter. So I like the Falcons in a lot of different ways in this game.
I like it, Matt. Great start here. A couple things I was looking at. You pointed it out. It was Baylor -6.5. Now we're seeing -3.5. There is a -3 even. So we've seen the money coming in on Air Force, and a couple trends out there. I think the military academies in bowl season are on a huge ATS run. It's like something like 13-3 or 14-3, their last 16 or 17 against the spread. I think some of that has to do with motivation, because normally you would think going up against the triple option, the extra preparation time coming into the bowl prep would help the team defending the option. However, motivation kind of trumps that, Matt. And we've seen these, Air Force, Navy, Army, when they make the bowl games, actually be great bets. I think that's what the market's onto, plus the fact of what you talked about, some of the heavier hitters on that Baylor defense maybe not playing. I guess one question I would have for you, Air Force, the bet you were throwing out there is over 2.5 points in the first quarter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't during the regular season you bet a lot of the military academies total under in the first quarter?
The first quarter under, and that's why, yes, I have both bets. So I have under 10 for the first quarter between these two. That number's long gone. It's 8.5. It's 9 in some places. And that makes a difference because a field goal and a touchdown's a push for me. A field goal and a touchdown for these other numbers are a loss. Air Force is third in the nation in first quarter defense for the country, and Air Force, their best scoring quarter this season has been their first quarter. They scored 99 points in the first quarter, and as I said, Drew, 8 of the last 10 times that they've faced a non-conference opponent who they haven't seen the year before, they've scored in that first quarter. So ideally, Drew, I'm hoping for a touchdown or a field goal from Air Force, and then that's it, and it's 3-0, 7-0, and I win both bets.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, good start here. And huge shout out to Barry joining us live at Drew Martin Bets on YouTube, on Twitter as well, at MidMajorMatt on Twitter. Also posted on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Feel free to reply below in the reply section. Let us know if you're liking the content and what you're looking to bet as well. Matt, next game up, Houston, UL Lafayette. Houston -7, 57 being the total. Friday, Independence Stadium, Shreveport, Louisiana. As I fix my camera here, Matt.
So there's a couple of interesting angles here. Obviously, the Shreveport, Louisiana angle means that Louisiana will be a lot closer to home. The weather in this one, potentially 24 degrees and 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. So that kind of makes things a little bit interesting here when you look at the Independence Bowl. The thing about this is, so Houston has both Clayton Tune and Tank Dell, who are not going to be back next season, but they are both playing in this bowl game. And that tells me something, Drew, that both Clayton Tune and Tank Dell want to play in this game. They do have one injury of note. Derek Parrish has a torn bicep. He has 5 sacks and 8.5 tackles for loss. Dana Holgerson, not great in bowl games, 2-7 ATS. And this team's given up 180 points over their last 5. They give 77 to SMU. Now, that everybody's thinking, okay, well, what about Louisiana's side? Well, Louisiana's leading wide receiver, Michael Jefferson, is opted out. Their best edge defender, Andre Jones, is opted out. Ben Wooldridge, the quarterback, has an injury, and Terrence Williams, one of their 3 big running backs, also has an injury. So Chandler Fields will start at quarterback. My question is, can they take advantage of Houston being awful on defense? Or could Houston actually play like the defense we thought they were going to be before the season began? To remember, Houston's defense entering the season was supposed to be really good, and I'm pretty sure in the beginning of the season they did play pretty good. So I think there's a chance that they get back to the defense we thought they were going to be, because UL Lafayette just doesn't represent much of a challenge for me. I feel like with Wooldridge out and one of their running backs out and their leading wide receiver out, I feel like Louisiana's not as sure of a bet here. So there's a lot of things to consider here, Drew. I did not come up with an official play here yet, but there's just a lot of angles to this game.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting one as well. I missed a little bit of your analysis fixing the camera here. Does Dana Holgerson, I believe he's 1-4 his last 5 bowl games. Does that scare you at all?
2-7 ATS actually as well, Drew, in his bowl games overall. Part of me thinks Houston's going to come out. Clayton Tune needs 235 yards passing to have 12,000 in his career, and only 2 active quarterbacks can have that. So if there's a Clayton Tune prop out there, maybe look at his over on his passing yards. I think there's going to be some success there, but there's just a lot of angles here, Drew. As I said, I haven't made an official play yet. There's part of me that says Houston's going to blow them out because they're going to play like the team they're supposed to. There's part of me that says Louisiana's the bet is going to play well because they're closer to home and they have more motivation to get an opportunity to play at Houston. So a lot of things still to consider, but nothing official yet in this game.
All right, we got 2 Friday games. That one's starting early, happy hour special, 3 o'clock, getting after it. And then we got 6:30 Eastern here, Wake Forest and Missouri in the Gasparilla Bowl, Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida. That is the home stadium of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also USF, the Bulls there. Wake Forest and Missouri, Raymond James Stadium, -2. That's the Demon Deacons, 58.5 being the total.
I like Wake Forest here. I like Wake Forest probably on the money line to make sure that there's no weird things that happen. It's 2, so you're going to get a reasonable money line here. 66 degrees and a little bit of winds down in Tampa. Of course, we know things can change in a heartbeat with rain and things like that, but right now it looks like there's no rain in the forecast. When you look at Wake Forest, transfer portal, their second best corner, Gavin Holmes. Their third corner in terms of most snaps played, J.J. Roberts. Their second leading rusher, Christian Turner. And they have an injury to Jamal Banks, who's the third leading receiver. Quentin Cooley, who announced he's going to Liberty. He's a running back. He's still going to play in the bowl game. And A.T. Perry, who's been out a lot of the season, he actually is going to play in this game. So is Sam Hartman. That tells me a lot about the Wake Forest side. When you look at Missouri, opting out 3 key defenders, Isaiah McGuire, DJ Coleman, Martez Manuel, who is a safety. You look at their transfer portal, Dominic Lovett, their number 1 wide receiver, Toski Dove, who's a veteran, has 86 reception in his career. Looking here, there's 5 other defensive players who are depth pieces who are not going to be playing in the game. The coach has actually said they're thin at safety. Hello, wrong team to be thin at safety against when it comes to Wake Forest here. Their quarterback coach, Bush Hamden, is going to Boise State. He's become more of a play caller down the stretch here. So there's a lot of question marks when it comes to Missouri. It feels like one last hurrah for Wake Forest here, Drew. So I like the Wake Forest money line. I may get involved in their team total over here. I'm a little worried their defense isn't great, but their offense could score almost every possession here if they want to, with all the full complement of weapons there. I like Wake Forest in this game.
Matt Joseph's ESPN Richmond. He has his radio show there. He interviews coaches all the time, knows the ACC well, Wake Forest being in there. Matt, my question to you on this game, I've noticed that Wake Forest, their offense, like when they can run it up, if you're not putting pressure on Sam Hartman, watch out. I'm down to lay numbers with Wake Forest. However, when they go up against those better defensive fronts, I feel like their offense just doesn't flow as well. Do you think Missouri has a shot to kind of push them around in the trenches?
At full strength, yes. If Isaiah McGuire and DJ Coleman were playing, they combined for 13 sacks. Yes, both of them have opted out. Martez Manuel, as I said, another safety, is opted out in this one. If they were full strength, this handicap would be completely different, Drew. But between the sheer numbers of people who aren't playing in this game and the players who aren't playing in this game by themselves, yeah, Wake Forest's defense scares me. If Missouri figures things out, if they get the Burden kid involved in a bunch of different ways, Missouri could score some points here. Small lean to the over here, but I like the Wake Forest side here. I think they could score almost in every possession. We could see kind of what Western Kentucky did last night with Wake Forest in this game.
Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com, #1 college football handicapper there on the website this year, last 3 years. Also, ESPN Richmond there. Matt, how can people listen to your show?
Well, this is today is the final show of 2022. We have all the bowls on our station. So today, 3 to 4, ESPN Richmond or the iHeartRadio app, 1061 ESPN. Final show of the 2022 calendar year today.
We got next game up Saturday, December 24th, Christmas Eve here. One of my favorite bowls here, Matt. Christmas Eve, it's the night game, get a little action in Hawaii, the Hawaii Bowl. MTSU in San Diego State. Ching Complex is where they're playing this at in Honolulu, Hawaii. 49 being the total, -6.5, -7. That's the Aztecs. 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock local time. What are we thinking Christmas Eve in the Hawaii Bowl?
This is a fascinating game, Drew. I don't have anything yet in this one. I'm going to wait until a little closer, but you look at San Diego State, they've been there for 6 days. So they're kind of soaking in the atmosphere. They probably had their Hawaii day where they were at the beach and everything, kind of soaking things up. Two contrasting styles. San Diego State wants to run it. They don't throw it very well. The Maiden kid, who was a defensive player who now became the quarterback, is very mobile, and they want to run the ball. They just don't do it very well. Their defense is very good. They're top 25 in scoring defense. They're top 30 in total defense. You look at Middle Tennessee, they want to throw it. They kind of run to we're going to let their offensive linemen go and block somebody for once instead of being, on their toes the whole time. Middle Tennessee's defense is not very good against the pass, but they're pretty good against the run here, Drew. So, it's almost a game where, the two sides kind of match up. It makes me think the under's going to hit here, but also, Drew, I feel like we've seen some crazy Hawaii Bowls, and, there's times where the defenses don't show up because they're in Hawaii on Christmas Eve. So that's the one thing that kind of worries me here, but I kind of lean to the under right now, and also maybe a small lean to Middle Tennessee. That's kind of where I'm thinking here, but I haven't played anything officially yet in this game.
Next one up, skipping Sunday, going to Monday, December 26th. We're not skipping any games. There just isn't any bowl games on Sunday. The Quick Lane Bowl, Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. 2:30 Eastern kick here, 11:30 a.m. Pacific on Monday. It's New Mexico State and Bowling Green. This might be power ratings wise the lowest matchup in bowl season. That doesn't bother us, though. This is every game on the board. It pays out the same. New Mexico State, what they scheduled that extra game against I don't know, and then now they find themselves in bowl season up against a MAC opponent in MAC territory here. -3.5. That's Bowling Green, the Falcons, as the favorite. 48.5 being the total. What are you thinking here in the Quick Lane Bowl, Matt?
Well, first thing, motivation will not be a factor on either side. I mean, New Mexico State's obviously, you read the quotes from Jerry Kill, they're so happy to be there. Now, The thing that kind of scares me there, Drew, is that they're so happy to be there Will it be kind of lackluster when it comes to preparation or things like that? Like, will they almost be, Drew, there's that thing where the first time you get to a bowl game, you're really happy to be there and you don't really worry as much about the game. You're in the festivities and things like that. You play poorly. And then your second bowl game's the one that we're kind of going to focus in on more. With regards to Mexico State, they had one player in the transfer portal. It's their punter. So they're going to their backup punter here. The other thing is we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Diego Pavia is a possibility, and Gavin Frakes is a possibility here. Pavia has some weird things. He was injured. He was going to enter the portal. He doesn't know. He might come back and things like that. So there's a chance it's one of the two guys. Granted, I don't think either of them are very good. Jerry Kill is 1-5 against the spread in bowl games. That doesn't mean as much considering he's been with different teams. You look at New Mexico State, their secondary is really good, or as good as it can be for an independent team. So that's kind of the New Mexico State side. The Bowling Green side, they're 0-3 as a favorite this season. I don't think I could take them as a favorite. Matt McDonald, I don't know how he does it, Drew. We've talked about it on past podcasts because we've had him. He's got that hitch in his throw that drives me nuts. Like he cocks back and then it's like there's like this thing and then he throws it. I don't know. This is an interesting game, Drew. Part of me thinks that these two teams are going to have fun. We're going to see a lot of points, but part of me also says these two offenses aren't very good and their defenses are good enough to slow them down. I'm actually going to be interested to see, and they're not out yet, that the team totals for this one, I might be on somebody's team total under here because I do think somebody's going to struggle, but I need that key number of 20.5, 24.5, whatever it is. I might be leaning towards under for the Bowling Green team total because I just don't trust their offense right now.
And how do you think Bowling Green stacks up in the MAC? Like, where would you rate them? How far behind, like, Ohio and Toledo?
So I think they're on par with Ohio.
Really?
I think certainly not Toledo. We saw Toledo play so well. I don't think they're Miami of Ohio either. It's tough, Drew. Their defense is bad at times, but it actually shows up at times. Like their defense was awesome last year, and then all of a sudden their defense just kind of got a little worse this year. As I said, McDonald kind of scares me a little bit, but I watched a couple of their games, and they've got some creative plays here. Their play caller is very good, so that's the one thing that worries me here, Drew. There's just so many questions. You've heard the thing about a team in their first bowl game, right, Drew?
No, what is it?
Well, it's just like that they're so excited to be there that they kind of get swept up by the festivities and everything, and you kind of worry about them with regards to the game itself. For bowl week, for people who are not familiar, because I've gone to a bunch of bowls, bowl week involves, game shows, bowling, charity work, all sorts of stuff. Like you get into the city a week beforehand and you do a bunch of things besides your practice. So I almost wonder if New Mexico State gets swept up in everything, not to mention, Drew, Christmas is the day before. I can't imagine they're going to practice. They're going to be together. So that's the one thing that worries me about New Mexico State here. I'm kind of talking in circles, but I'm also just trying to give out information to the listeners.
All right, we got Tuesday, December 27th, Camellia Bowl, Montgomery, Alabama, noon Eastern, 237-238, the rotation number here. Georgia Southern in Buffalo. Georgia Southern -3.5, 67 being the total. So we get MAC versus the Sun Belt. What are we thinking in the Camellia Bowl, Matt?
Well, really, it's the Kyle Van Treese Bowl as he takes his Georgia Southern team going up against his former team here, Drew. And I like Georgia Southern. I don't know how necessarily I'm going to play it yet. Once again, the team totals aren't out yet. Georgia Southern should win this game. Buffalo, we had them both, Drew, on our thing. We had the Akron game in every game on the board, and then we had that last game. I forget who they played that last game, and we kept saying, yeah, Buffalo needs to win to get in. Buffalo needs to win to get in, and they played like crap the game before the finale, and then they played better in the finale, so they limped to get in here. And they actually have a couple of transfer portal guys. Trevor Borland, a tight end. Jamari Gassett, who had 28 catches, a wide receiver. Their backup quarterback, Matt Myers, the running quarterback, is not in it. Their third stringer, Casey Case, which is an interesting name, he also is in the transfer portal. So if Buffalo's starting quarterback Snyder goes down, Drew, they're going to their fourth stringer here. The one thing to consider on Georgia Southern side, Derek Canteen is transferring out of the program. He is a national all-freshman cornerback, and that's going to be pretty big against Buffalo here, Drew. But I think Georgia Southern's the side here. I like Kyle Van Treese in a revenge mode. He's going to know a lot about his former team. So somehow, some way, I'm going to play Georgia Southern here. I may, and this is where it comes down to juice tolerance and things like that, I may try and find an alternate line 3 here and just pay a little extra to get that little comfort of, having the 3 instead of the 3.5. But once again, that's on December 27th. It's December 22nd here. Somebody else could opt out. Somebody could get hurt. That's my tentative play here on a Thursday.
We got First Responder Bowl up next. This also on Tuesday, the 27th. Utah State and Memphis. This is in Dallas, Texas. 60.5 being the total. -7 in the hook. That's Memphis. The Tigers is the favorite here, Matt.
Utah State has an opt-out. It's Calvin Tyler Jr., their leading running back, over 1,000 yards rushing. Their number 2 running back is injured, may not play. Who knows? Their number 3 running back has 48 total snaps. Their number 4 running back had 7 carries in the final game. They've also going to potentially be without their first string quarterback. Cooper Legis will start in this game most likely. Their backup quarterback is out, so this is the third stringer, but he's seen some time, so it's not as much of an issue. Their starting cornerbacks are injured, but it looks like they're going to play. Of course, once again, it's December 22nd. This game is 27th. We don't have that information yet. The Memphis side, pretty clean. 1 transfer portal guy, a defensive lineman, but this is a lot of points for Memphis to lay here. Drew, I have nothing in this game right now. With the opt-outs and the injury situation, I might look at a Utah State team total under, but Memphis's defense isn't very good. So some things to still consider here, Drew, but no play right now in the First Responder Bowl.
We have seen a 2-point move towards the under, 62-60. Also -9.5 on Memphis, down to -7 in the hook. So a little bit of movement there. We got 4 games on Tuesday. So we're really starting to roll here in bowl season. ECU in Coastal Carolina up next. Birmingham Bowl, Birmingham, Alabama, 6:45 Eastern, -7.5. That's the Pirates of ECU as the favorite. 62 being the total. Birmingham, Alabama, ECU, and Coastal Carolina, Matt.
So we talked about throughout our various times, Drew. I've been off on East Carolina all season, so take my analysis here with a grain of salt, because I think the first 5 weeks I got them wrong 3 times. So there's teams we have nice pegs on, and there's teams that we don't. East Carolina is one of the ones that I've struggled with. Their starting center has entered the transfer portal. Their safety, Sean Dorsal, who has 26 tackles, also in the transfer portal. Ryan Jones, the tight end, who has 41 catches, opted out of this game. So a little bit of roster issues with East Carolina. On the Coastal Carolina side, Grayson McCall is transferring out, but he's going to play in the bowl game. Their starting center has entered the transfer portal, and then 2 other defensive guys, which isn't great. We know that their head coach is gone. He went to Liberty. I almost feel like that could be a good thing in terms of they played their bad game in the Sun Belt Championship game. I think they might get up for this game. That's why the number is pretty big. Their defensive coordinator will be the coach. Of course, that's not necessarily a good thing. Coastal's defense, not very good here. As I said, I don't have a great feel on East Carolina, but I kind of like Coastal as long as Grayson McCall plays in this game. I feel like the fact that he's coming back and he's going to be closer to 100%, I think that's going to play into it here. If I don't play Coastal Carolina, if their team totals something reasonable, I might look at that. I think Coastal Carolina is going to show up in this game.
And the nightcap on Tuesday, the 27th, Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Chase Field, Phoenix, Arizona. Oklahoma State and Wisconsin, 43 being the total. We've seen a tick to the under here, about a 5-point move to the under, -3.5. That's the Badgers at home. So it's Big 12 versus Big 10 in a baseball stadium, Chase Field, Phoenix, Arizona. That's where the Diamondbacks play. Anything in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Matt?
Well, I mean, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, it's who's playing and who's not, Drew. And obviously, you're more of the Power 5 guy than I am. But look at the guys who are not playing in this game. We'll start with Oklahoma State. Spencer Sanders is transferring. Their linebacker, Mason Cobb, has 96 tackles. Running back, Dominic Richardson, 543 yards rushing. Defensive end, Trace Ford. Safety, Thomas Harper. They had a bunch of other guys who were injured in that West Virginia game. We don't know their status. Once again, 5 days away, we'll get their status probably a little closer. That means Gunnar Gundy or Garrett Rangel will start. Neither were very good, Drew, so that's my concern there. But when you look at this Wisconsin side, Graham Mertz has already transferred. Did that Florida thing go through, Drew? Is Graham Mertz officially in Florida, or is that just a rumor?
I don't know.
Wisconsin's starting center is transferring. Their defensive lineman, Keanu Benton. Cornerback, Jay Shaw. There are Michael Furtney, who is a part-time starter in the offensive line. Their kick returner, Isaac Garendo, not playing in this game. There's about 4 or 5 other guys who are depth pieces who are not going to play in this game. Chase Wolf or Miles Burkett will be the starting quarterback. That's quarterback 3 or 4 there. Their defense has 1 remaining cornerback starter. 3 of their top 4 safeties are back. Jim Leonard will coach in the bowl game with Luke Fickell giving him some help. The players really like Jim Leonard, and this is his final game with the program, so that's the motivation factor here, Drew. But with 2 Power 5 schools, with everybody that's not playing in this game, it's a tough handicap. We know Wisconsin plays really good defense. We know that Oklahoma State without Spencer Sanders has been a team you want to fade here. So maybe I'm going to look at an Oklahoma State team total under, especially if I get like a 17.5 or a 20.5. Once again, though, it's not out yet and we're 5 days away. I don't know, Drew. You heard the names I just said that who aren't playing in this game. It's a lot on both sides. Any thoughts from you on this one?
It's a difficult handicap, man. I would wait until closer, but yeah, just going by the opt-outs, that's never a good sign. So maybe look to fade that in some form or fashion. We got one game left. We got best bets at the end. Getting up against it a little bit time-wise here, Matt. I know Military Bowl, last game. We'll be back next week with the next section, guys. Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, Annapolis, Maryland. UCF and Duke Blue Devils -3, 62.5 the total here, Matt.
The only guys who are not playing in this game for Duke are depth pieces. Nobody spectacular. UCF losing Mikey Keene. Ryan O'Keefe is in there. The 73 catches. Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, third in tackles. These guys are transferring out. Devontae Brown had 30 tackles for them. John Reese Plumlee's not 100%, so it could be the third stringer. Thomas Castellanos under center. UCF also, their OC Chip Lindsey is leaving for North Carolina, so he won't be involved in this one, Drew. So, and I know you're closer to the UCF program than I am. To me, that screams Duke, maybe Duke money line here, because Duke seems more motivated to be in this game, and there's a lot of offensive questions with UCF in this one.
Yeah, UCF, they got a great signing class, but at the same time, like Matt was just talking about, a lot of opt-outs going on here. It might hurt them in the bowl game. So, guys, he's Matt Josephs. That does it for today's segment. We got best bets here. We'll be back early next week with the next section. Every game on the board. If you could smash that like button and please comment below. Let us know you're listening, what you're looking to bet. All works. So, Matt, any final thoughts here? And do you have a game that you like more than any of the others we talked about?
Yeah, and obviously the games that we talked about towards the end, things will change over the 5 days. So we're just trying to give you the information we have as of now. Of course, things will change, and picks and opinions may change, of course, as that time goes along. Wake Forest money line, Drew. I like the Demon Deacons here. Sam Hartman, final go round with Wake Forest. A.T. Perry, his other wide receivers are healthy outside Jamal Banks. Missouri has a ton of opt-outs, including a bunch of guys on defense. So Wake Forest money line will be my best bet for this segment.
Most profitable college football handicapper this season. Also the past 3 seasons, 6-2 in bowl games so far. That's Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. Shout out to Johnny Outlaw in the chat box, Barry O'Brien as well. Guys, look forward to talking next week. Matt, have a great holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. And yeah, we'll talk next week, guys. Cash those tickets.